From the day of my election, the stock market went up in my first term 88%, with NASDAQ going up 155%, more than any president has ever had in any term.
Of course, that's a lie. Welcome to the Fry My Calamari Show. Top of the news, top of what's been going on this week is Mr. Trump and his amazing tariffs. Doing some incredible things for the stock market. As you can see, I definitely wanted to have the stock market pulled up here to give you a nice visual of where we're at. Looking at some of these drops, 7%, 4%, 7%. I noticed Tesla looks a little worse there with a 10% drop. That's rough for Tesla. Let's see. Let's look at the world. The entire world seems to be red. Just about everything else in the world is currently crashing, and not a little crash. It's quite large. So yeah, what's causing all of this? Honestly, Trump hasn't been real outright with whether or not this is part of the plan, but he has at different points said that there may be a little pain, but not very specific as to what that pain would be. And more importantly, I haven't heard him say anything that he's going to do to deal with that, because he said he was going to fix all the problems of the economy that we had with Biden, with the inflation and everything.
I won on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. And I won an election based on that. We're going to bring those prices way down. If I win, we will rapidly defeat inflation, and I will make America affordable again. We're going to make it affordable. We got to bring those costs down. They call it groceries. Bacon, lettuce, tomato, everything is so much higher.
He's just talking about a BLT sandwich. He's never had to buy groceries. And I understand that the tariffs thing is supposed to be part of a longer-term strategy, but how are you fixing anything if you're causing us more pain in the short and medium term? Because we've already been dealing with pain and horrible inflation since basically 2020, right? Since COVID, things have been inflating since then. So we need a break from that. We can't handle as an economy more trouble right now. We need a plan of action that's going to stabilize things for the short and medium term, and then we can talk about longer term strategies for stimulating domestic manufacturing and all of that. And I understand we want to bring manufacturing back, but we don't really have a growth issue in the United States. We have economies that we can continue to stimulate. We can bring back more manufacturing. We can focus on these future economies that are having to do with emerging technologies. Trying to bring back all the olden days of manufacturing, that's just a pipe dream. But, don't take my word for it. Let's listen to Trump. Let's hear what he has to say. No, the stock market isn't some perfect measure of the economy, but it is one measure of the economy, especially when it's crashing. This is the problem with the Trump supporters. They don't have consistency. If you're going to use the stock market and the fact that it went up under Trump, and if he's going to use that as a measure of success, then you also have to be consistent and use it as a measure of failure when it goes down. You can't say, oh, when it goes up under me, that's a good thing, but when it goes down under me, that's also a good thing. You can't have it both ways. Trump is always trying to have his cake and eat it too.
I think we're going to blow that away, and maybe the numbers won't show, but I think they're going to show much better than even those numbers.
This is an ABC News special report.
Good morning. I'm Diane Macedo. We're coming on the air because the stock market is plummeting in response to President Trump's escalating trade war. The Dow's down more than 1,000 points right now at the open. Economists are warning these tariffs could cause higher inflation and a possible recession, with Americans forced to pay more for everything from produce to clothing, electronics to cars.
He can't have this strategy that causes a little bit of pain now, aka the stock market crashes and prices for everything explode, and also say that he's going to lower prices for everybody on groceries and everyday items like that. It was always a lie.
Higher than it ever was, and we're going to bring that down. On day one, we will end inflation and make America affordable again. We're going to take care of inflation and quickly, And we're going to get those prices coming down very, very substantially and very quickly. We've got to get those costs down, and I'm going to get them down. We're going to bring those costs way down. When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one. If you don't make your product here, then you will have to pay a tariff, a very substantial tariff, when you send your product into the United States. And by the way, you know, for years they knocked the word tariff, properly used, is a beautiful word. One of the most beautiful words I've ever heard. It's music to my ears.
And that's the thing is, we know from the history of tariffs what it does. It's going to bring prices up. I'm not even talking about his long-term strategy. I have issues with that. But he knows that it was going to cause issues. I don't know if he realized it was going to. I don't think he would have gone through the strategy if he knew the markets were going to crash this hard. He probably had some idea. But this is like really dangerous levels of dropping. Like he needs to see it a bump back up pretty soon, or you're going to see a shift in policy.
Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have, and who's going to have higher prices, is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years.
Yeah, that was just a bold-faced lie, because he's on the record at other times saying that there might be a little bit of pain. Of course, he was very vague about that. He wasn't very specific about what that pain would be.
You said the tariff is a beautiful word. There are some signs in the markets, consumer confidence, that they're a little jittery. So if all goes to plan, when do you think families will be...
What an understatement. A little jittery. Let me show you what a little jittery... A little jittery. Just a little jittery. Where's the United States? Just a little jittery, guys. Just a little jittery. The markets are just a little jittery. That's what a little jittery looks like.
Be able to feel prices going down, groceries, energy, or are you kind of saying to them, hang on, inflation may get worse until it gets better?
No, I think we're going to become a rich... Look, we're not that rich right now. We owe $36 trillion. That's because we let all these nations take advantage of us. Same thing, like $200 billion with Canada. We owe 300. We have a deficit with Mexico of $350 billion. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let that happen.
President Trump officially announcing widespread, what he calls reciprocal tariffs, at least 10% on practically all goods coming into the United States, plus...
And this chart is pretty much a complete fabrication. All the numbers, although it's somewhat complex to calculate these numbers, it's not impossible. And yeah, they totally lied. They completely made up these numbers.
Higher rates on dozens of countries that have the highest trade deficits with the United States.
This, I think fair to say, is worse than the worst case scenario of the tariffs that many in the market expected the president to impose.
Investors are alarmed and frankly shocked by the president's trade plan. Wall Street knew that tariffs were going higher, but not this high, not this fast, not this broad.
Prices of everything, and I mean smartphones, computers, cars, clothes, shoes, avocados, it's all about to go up on everybody.
So if you look at that, I think you can, for the most part, see it. Those with good eyes, with bad eyes. We didn't want to bring, it's very windy out here. We didn't want to bring out the big charts because it had no chance of standing.
What you're going to see now to the right of me are the countries listed on Trump's giant poster. Just look at it scroll. We had to speed it up because this is 185 countries. Trump took pleasure in it, detailing what he was about to do to these 185 countries. Some of the hardest hit places include the world's poorest nations. Others are in the midst of actual wars, physical wars. And look at the view if you just put up the map. Look at this map. It seems like nothing was too small to be included. That includes the Heard and McDonald Islands. It's a speck out there. See, we wanted to, it's a real speck because the population there is 0. According to the UN, just look, the merchandise exports, imports, and trade balance of that speck are 0. So when you look at that speck, which you wouldn't even know existed, I did not know that existed until today, and I love geography.
And that's what makes me think that there aren't really experts involved with this, at least not to the correct extent. It just seems like it's Trump like, yes, give me a list of all the countries and I want every country on that list to have. So it's only a couple of birds and a monkey on this island. So, tax them, tariff them. But of course, I don't think Russia is on the list.
In Korea, we started taking their cars in 2012 in exchange for us for selling produce and food there and agriculture. So McDonald's tried to bring in French fries. And you know what? They wouldn't let them take French fries because they said couldn't prove the origin of the potato.
Why can't they prove the origin of the potatoes? That's freaky. Is that the case here? Or was it just for that scenario and that situation? Oh, and I like McDonald's fries when they're fresh. What the hell?
The European Union won't take chicken from America. They won't take lobsters from America. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
That's how you know it's a grifter. That's how you know it's just a political hack when they frame things like that and they word things in that way. It's so terrible. Their beef is weak. And our beef is beautiful. That's not how you talk about beef. That's not a way that you describe beef. We have factory farming that produces subpar meat, and other countries don't want our shit. I guarantee you, if you get your meat up to standard, there are American companies, there are biodynamic farms that have organic, grass-fed, healthy beef. There are some countries, I think, that have completely 86'd us, but that's because of our factory farming. If we got our shit together and started caring about the products we put out and made healthy products, other countries would want to import them. There's a reason why this stuff occurs.
What specific commodity or farmer product do you want to see opened up, and into what country?
Well, listen, every country is different. So, for example, for our pork producers, a lot of the piece of the pig we don't eat in America, the feet, the tongues, et cetera, et cetera. But other countries, especially in East Asia, do. So let's open up those markets.
He wants to export pig feet and the parts of pigs we don't like. Okay, but you couldn't come up with a better example than that?